We're going to be starting the class right about now. Thank you very much, Madam Chiamaka. Over to you.
Okay, hi everyone. Good evening from any part of the world that you are currently in. So today we're going to be looking at data visualization and report design. So I'm meant to understand that this is going to be two sessions. For today, we are just going to be talking about data visualization and report creation. Then in the next session, we're going to be talking about report design principles in Power BI. So just like Bankole said, so I don't need any further introduction. He has done justice to it. I'm a data analyst and Power BI consultant, Microsoft certified trainer, a data content creator across social media. So in order to find me, you can just type my name. And I'm also meant to understand that you have been working with a phone sales data set all this while. You've been able to clean it. So today, in order to be able to create this report for today, we are assuming that you are a data analyst working with this shop manager, and the manager wants to answer some business questions. So that is the way you're going to get your request in real life scenarios. You don't just wake up and start analyzing data. Before you start analyzing data, there should be a problem that you're trying to solve. So this particular shop manager has 5 critical business questions that he wants to answer with his data. These are his issues. And he wants you as a data analyst to be able to answer these questions for him using his data. So let's just go through the questions. The first one is, what is the business scale and average transaction size? The shop manager wants to know what are the total orders so far that he has gotten over that time period that his data set has. He wants to understand his customer traffic as well as the overall activity of things. He wants to also know the total quantity that is being sold in order to assess how the products are moving. He also wants to know what is the total revenue that he has gotten so far for that particular time period that the data set covers. He would also like to know the average price of his products. The next question that he wants you to answer would be, when do sales peak and drop? This particular question is important to him because he would like to know what time should he run promotion. If the sales, if checks and a particular period of time, a particular product sales drops in this particular period, and he looks at it and is a trend over time, he's going to
The
actually
resident can sit however
consider
they wish
running
as long as they can see the
promotions
food.
when the sales drop in order to get more sales. Then also it will help him to be able to understand how he's going to schedule staff for his staff schedule so that when he's creating his roster, he will know the staff that he's going to put in a particular period, especially when he has more sales in a particular period. So he can be able to assign more staff to be available to attend to customers to ensure that customers are satisfied within this particular
You have
period.
now completed
This
lesson
particular
7. Raw.
question will also help him in his inventory management to always ensure that he has stock available, especially for his peak periods, so that customers will not actually complain about not out of stock products and all of that. Then the next question that he would like to answer is, which product drives the most revenue? So
Resources.
he would
The
like
ITSY
to know
website.
which product are his star
The ITSY
products, as well as his products that are not moving as well. This will help him to also manage his inventory. For his star products, he will always ensure that the products are available all the time so that it will satisfy the customer demand. Then also for the products that are not moving like it's supposed to, he will know that these are the products that he will need to run promotion for in order to be able to get more sales. So that is why he's asking this third question: which product drives the most revenue? Then the fourth question basically that he would like you to answer as a data analyst in this case is, how are customers paying? So if you look at the data set that we have been using in this particular case, the data set contains different payment methods: cash, card, and digital transfer. He would like to know which particular method of payment the customers use most. This will help him in his planning. If it is a card payments, which involves using POS, he will know that he
It
will
is
need to
also
like
recommended
make
that these
more equipment
posters are
available
up on the
for
wall in the
customers to
kitchen
use.
where food is
If it
being
is the
prepared
cash
to
payments,
act as
that's
a
where you now
reminder
talk
to
about
anyone
security
preparing food
measures
for
so that he
people
will
with
know that
displeasure.
he'll put security measures
You can
in
also click
place
on
in
any of
order
the
to be
posters
able to
to
be
view the
moving
PDF.
cash from the bank, from his shop to the bank. Then if it is digital transfer, he will know that he will need to put in cost of transfer in place as well. He will need to record that as well. Then the final question he would like to answer with this particular data set is who are our top performing staff members. This will help him to
There is
understand
an
the staff
IDSI app.
properly and be able to know their performance. It will also help him to ensure that the staff that is performing better is actually paid fairly based on the person's performance. Then he will also know the staff that needs more training in order to be able to perform better. So we are now going to go over to our Power BI file that we have been
You
using
have
in
now
order to answer
completed
all these
Lesson 8.
questions one after the other. So I'm going to be moving the file to this my second screen. All right. So can you see my Power BI file? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. We can see your file, ma'am.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I just want to be sure of that. Okay. All right, so this is the file that we have been using, and this is, I presume that you're already familiar with your data set, where you have your transaction ID, the customer name, phone number, city, product, quantity, unit price, and all of that. So for this particular file, I want to add a few things. The first thing I want to do, actually, I can see that we have the measures within the particular data set. So I want my measures to be on a different table. This helps in arrangement. This will help you when you are giving this file to somebody. The person can easily see, oh, this is the table for measures, and these are all the measures the person is using. The person doesn't necessarily need to start scrolling through the data, especially when you have long list of columns. So it's easy for you to arrange your measures on a particular table. So to do that, I'm going to click on the home screen, click on enter data. Okay, I have this table. I want to label it as key measures. Click on load to create the table. It's taking a while to load. Let's just give it a moment. Mm, Power, Power BI has a mind of its own. Let's just give it a moment for it to load.
Power BI is doing his own. Oh.
Yeah, it has a mind of its own.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, apply changes. Okay, so it's trying to load now. It's actually weird that it is taking this long time for it to load for me. I only have one file open. Okay, finally. All right. Sorry about that. So we have this particular table here. So I'm going to move the average price, total orders, and total quantity to that particular table. So to do that, I'll just change their table location. You can see the home table there. Just change it to key measures. The total order, change that to key measure as well. Okay. Then also the total quantity, change that to key measure. Next thing I'm going to do is to create also a measure for the sales amount. Yes, it's created here already as a calculated column, but I want it to be in my list of measures. Like I mentioned earlier, I want all my measures to be on a particular table so I can always make reference to that. This will really put in your table. So I'm just going to create that quickly. This is sales amount, which is just the sum of that particular column, nothing fancy. Then the next thing that we're going to do, let me, over here we have the payment method. And when you click on this drop down for the payment method, you can see that you have multiple payment method here. And you can see that we have bank transfer and transfer, then cash and card, a whole lot of groups that we need you to like streamline it to. I want to streamline this to like 4 groups so that it will be easier to understand which category. So in order to do that, I'm going to create a new calculated column. Right click, new column. So I'm going to be using this particular, let me get that. So you're going to be using this DAX function for that. What this function basically is doing is a switch statement. So wherever you find payment, which is this our payment column, wherever it contains bank transfer, transfer, and USSD. So we are trying to group them so that it will be more streamlined for someone to easily understand. So group them as digital. If it is cash and ATM, just group them as cash. If it is POS and card, just group it as card payment. Then If it is none of all these categories, just say no payment method. I'll just click commit for that. So now we have a new column added. You can actually validate this particular column. This is the payment column. This is the new one that we've created. You can see that digital is either transfer USSD. So you can validate this as well to be sure that the column is doing what it's supposed to do. The next thing I'm going to do now is to create a date table. It is very advisable for you to always have a separate date table for your analysis. One reason that you should create that is because of the fact that by default, most times, Power BI creates a hidden date table for any date in your data set. What this actually implies is that if you have multiple tables with multiple dates, it means that, for instance, if you have 5 dates in 5 different tables in your data, it means that Power BI will create 5 hidden date tables for you. This will affect the performance of your report. But when you create your own separate date table and turn off the auto date and time setting, it ensures that you only have one date table within your data, and this will really help with the size of your file. So to turn off the auto date and time, click on the file, options and settings, options, a particular part is going to come up now. Let's give Power BI time. So we have this particular option part. So for the current file, when you click on data load, you can see this auto date and time. When you hover on this information icon, it's telling you what this does whenever it is on. It automatically creates a hidden date table for each field in your data model that has a date or data type. So you need to turn this off all the time. Click OK. So let's save this. Then we are going to create our date table. Our date table is going to be based on this particular date here within this file. So to do that, I'm going to click on Table Tools, New Table. So I'm going to name this as Date Table. It is going to be equal to, we'll be using a function calendar, and our start date, I want the start date to be the minimum date in our data set. That will be our start date. So we use main function, then reference our Niger shop date. So we want the minimum of this particular date. Then our end date, we want it to be the maximum date in this particular data, such that if you're adding more data to this, it will automatically be picking the date instead of adding a static date there. So maximum date, still the same Niger shop data, then close your parentheses. So we have the first date showing here. Mm, let's say this. Then I will change the data type of this from date time to just date. Why is Power BI doing this to me today? Wow. Okay. So I'll need to write this again. Sorry about that. Date table is equal to the calendar, start date, minimum date of the Niger shop date. Then end date is the maximum date of that same Niger shop date. Okay. So I'll change this from date time to just date so that it will match that particular one. And I will need to add new columns to this. I'll need to add my year and month column to this as well. So I'm going to click on new column. But due to the fact that it's just 1 year, the year column is not necessary because we are just looking at 1 year. But if you have multiple years, you can add your year column. But for the sake of time and all, I'm only going to be adding my month name and month number. So month name is equal to, let me start with month first. The month is equal to, we have a month function, is to extract the month from this, so, which is basically the month number. So the month function date table date. So it's going to extract the month number from this. You can see January is 1. If I scroll down, you can see March is 3 and all of that. Then the next thing is the month name. I want it to give me the first 3 letters of the month. So in order to do that, I will create a new column as well, which is going to be month name is equal to, we're going to be using a format function, and we're going to reference the date table date. So I want it within this date table date, get me the month, and I want you to get me the first 3 letters of the month. In order to do that, you write N into 3 places, N, M, M, then close that. Now I have the first 3 letters. Where you have January, you have JAN, and when you scroll down there, you have February, you have FEB and the likes of it. So we've created the date table that we need. The next thing is to connect this date table to our data for them to be connected. To do that, I'm going to click on the model view, then click on manage relationship. So here I'm going to create a new relationship in order to connect the date table to the data set that we have been using. So I'll click on the date table and also the data set that we have been using. I want to connect it using the date column in the two tables. So I'll click on date here and date here as well, which is a one-to-many relationship within this. So one occurrence of the date in the date table gives you multiple occurrence of it in the data set that we have been using. Then save. Oh, looking on it. Why is Power BI doing this today?
Power BI took today of all days to behave like this.
Like, I don't understand.
Don't worry. So I believe everyone we
All
are all
right.
noticing everything, and we are already. I think we're already familiar with almost everything as well, and things that we need to add and implement. We're already doing that as well. So don't forget that. Feel free to ask questions, raise your hands, or you drop them
Mm,
in the comment section, and we'll be picking it. Thank you. So let's continue, ma'am.
all right, that's fine. So I'm trying to click on this part. It's still a bit. Here's a here. Okay. So now that we have created our date table and we have our measures here, so now we are going to start answering the questions that our shop owner wants us to answer. So, like I said earlier, the first question is what is the business scale and average transaction? The shop owner wants to know all of this. And the best way for you to show this on your report is to use a card visual, which shows one single metric at a time, such that when the card shop owner looks at it, the person can easily see, oh, these are my total orders, these are my quantity, total sales, and average price in this case. So we're going to look at that now. But before we do that, I want to change the color of my canvas. We're going to be building that on this. So I'll click on this format pane. We have the canvas background. I want to change the color to this particular color. You can see the hex code of the color. When you click on more colors, then this is the hex code of the color. You can copy this and we use it multiple times in different reports if you want the hex code of a particular color. Then right now you can't see anything here because the transparency is set to 100%. So I want to reduce the transparency to 77, for instance. So you can see a light. If I reduce the transparency to 0, you see the full color, but I don't want it to be a full color. I want it to just be 77% transparency. Then the next thing I want to do is to add a title first before answering the remaining part of the question. In order to add a title, I'll use my text box here, adjust it, then write my title. I want it to be sales overview. Then I want to use this font, Segdo UI, and the size of the font I want to use for my title is 24. Make it bold. So we have this here. Next thing is to reshape this. The size and style aspect of things controls that. So the height of my text box, I want the height of the text box to be 76. I want the weight of it to be 1219. Then next is the horizontal position. Horizontal position is either moving it to the left, moving it to the right or to the left. That is the horizontal position. So I want the horizontal position of this to be 27. You can see that it has moved to the right. Then I want the vertical position of it to be 13. That's vertical position, moving it up or down. So you can see that it's pushed it down a bit. Then next is on the background is white. I want it that way. Next is the visual border. The border is round dot text box. I want to turn that on. You can see that it is on and black by default. I don't like that color. So I want to change that visual border, change the color to the background color itself, and I want it to have rounded curves. So I want to have rounded curves of 5 pixels. So right now we have our title this way. Then based on the business question, we need to create a card visual for our total orders, quantity, sales, and average price. So to do that, we are going to be using new card visual, which is this one with under sign over here. I'll just click on it. We have that here. So we're going to be adding key measures. So this is basically the reason we created this key measure separately, so I can easily pick that up. So I have my total orders. I can click on it and it's automatically show on the card. I have my total quantity. I have my sales amount and then the average price. So we have the four of them here. Let's start editing them. To edit, click on format pane as well. The size of them, I want the height to be 147. Sorry, not 147. Oh, God. Let me just expand this and see the height I need. Okay, this height is fine. Then I want the width to be 1252. And drag it up here. Because for the card visual, we have different layers, and it's important for you to know the different layers while you are editing. So the first layer, basically, which is on this side and style aspect, that's like the outermost layer. We don't need that. So I want to turn off the background of it first. Then I'll scroll down to the multi-card layout aspect of things. So this particular part controls the inner, this multi, from the name multi, it controls the inner part. And you can add columns, and you can increase the size number of columns. If you have like 7 columns, you can increase that here. But since mine is just 4, that is why everything is visible. Then scroll down, the gap. I want the gap. The gap is the space in between. I want the gap to be 15 so that I'll have a big space in between each card. Then I want to turn off the background. You can see that the background has been turned off and it has taken the background of our canvas. I want the horizontal position of this to be 11 and vertical 91. Horizontal position 11, vertical 91. Okay, so that has been placed. Then the next thing I'm going to work on is the call out label and the call out value. These ones bolded are called the call out values, while the ones underneath their names are known as the call out label. So I'll click on this again, scroll down to where we have the call out. Let's start with the cards, for instance. I want to change the shape, which is rounded rectangle now. I want it to be 5 pixels of corner radius, like we did for the text. Then the border itself, I want the color of the border to be the shade that we have been using. Now on the call out, the call out value is 24, which is fine. But a particular call out value, which is that of total quantity, I want it to show me everything. So I can select that here within this total quantity. Scroll down to where I have the call out value, display units. I want it to show me everything. So I will click on none. You can see the 2775, but I want it to be comma separated. So to do that, I'll click on this part, then total quantity aspect of things. Click on this comma here to add a comma separator there. You can see now it's readable. Next is on the sales amount. I want it to have the currency symbol. So for that, I'll click on the sales amount measure and change it to currency symbol of USD. But there are other currency symbols. You can search for any currency symbol here. But I want it to just be United States dollars. Then the next thing I want to edit is the label of the average price. I want to remove the underscore. So we just have average dot price there, which is fine now. And also change it to currency as well. Now that's in currencies, now has multiple decimal values. So you can control the number of decimal values that you want to have by clicking on this part and changing the decimal values. In my case, I just want it to be two decimal places. So we have that. Back to our business question, we've answered the first one. What are the total orders quantity? So when our shop manager looks, the person can easily see what these are. Then back to that again, the next question is, when do sales peak and drop? In order to be able to answer this question, you need to use a visual that shows trend. And there are two visuals that do that. You have the line chart or the area chart. So I'm going to be using the area chart for this. So let me just click on this. This is our area chart. And I want to see the sales amount by different months in our case, because that's the time that we have. So this is where the month name that we created is going to be useful. So the month name, I'll select that as well. So we have the month name on the x-axis and the sales amount on the y-axis. But when you look at this, you can see that this is not sorted in chronological order the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to be using the month number column that we've created in order to sort this so that it will show January, February, and the likes of it. So I'll click on month name, sort column by month number. Okay, in order for it to show, I'll remove the month name and place it back. Now we sorted in chronological manner. I have this. I will adjust. Then now time to format the chart. We have the size and style. Turn on the visual border. Change this just like we have been doing. Change this to this color, rounded corner 5. Then the title, sales amount by month name. X-axis, I want to remove the title of the x-axis because the title of the chart already shows what it is. And the y-axis as well, I want to remove the title as well. So we have this. You can as well change this. Like I said earlier, I want to use an area chart, not just a line chart. So I'm just going to change this to an area chart. Automatically, it has picked that up. I want to use a different color for this. So this is the color that we are going to be using. So I want this. So this shows the trend. You can see that there is a peak period here and there is a drop here. And this will help the business owner to make decision of when to run promotions and all. Then the next question is, which product drives the most revenue? So in order to be able to answer that, we are going to be using a bar chart for this. So I'll click on the bar chart, tag bar chart visual, select my key measure in this case, which is the sales amount, and also by product. We have the product column. So you can see we have the y-axis for the product and x-axis for the sales amount. And this is already showing us that laptop bag is the major product that is a star product. And when I scroll down, you can see that data cable is the least product that they need to run promotion for. Let's quickly edit this. Same thing that we have been doing. Visual border color is this our color. The rounded corners 5. Scroll down to where you have the y-axis. The y-axis itself, I don't want the title. The x-axis, I don't want the title and value because I want to turn on the data label so that it will be easy for someone to know the labels just by doing it immediately. Then the color of the bars, I want the color of the bar to be the same color code with what we have been using to maintain the same color thing. So we have those particular one that answers the question that our business owner needs.
Hello, Chiamaka, can you hear me? Can anybody hear?
No.
No, sir. No, I wasn't thinking your network safe.
No,
No, it's not my
no.
network.
Okay, just hold on. Let me get back to our comment. Okay, good. Okay, so we have Madam Chi back. So let's continue the class now. You can go ahead, ma'am.
I'm so sorry. I kind of. All right. So the next part, which is going to be the question regarding customers, how are customers paying? Like I said earlier, the shop owner wants to know what the kind of payment that the customer prefer so that it will help him with the planning of providing equipment as well as security. So in order to show this, we're going to be using either a pie chart or a donut chart. They do the same thing actually, but it's just the visual, the way it is placed that differs. So I'm going to be using a donut chart for this. So I'll click on the donut chart aspect of things. Automatically created. This is the reason I created this so that it will help them, help the shop owner to be able to see the streamlined category. I'm also going to be using the sale of things, and the sales amount goes into the values. So you have this way. And as you can see from this, you find out that the digital channel which is when you look at this, you can see what we grouped as digital channel. That's the bank transfer, transfer and USSD. So that's the one with the major payment method that customers prefer. So the person, the shop owner in this case, will now be considering transfer cost, then followed by the cash. You can see that the cash payment channel is another payment channel that customers prefer. So the shop owner is going to be making provision for security in order to move the cash from one place to the other. So I'm going to edit this now. Click on the format aspect of things, the same visual background. Just try to use consistent features for your visuals. It helps it to look coherent. Then color of it, still white, rounded color 5. The legend aspect of things, the placement is on the right hand side. You can as well move it depending, but being on the right hand side for this visual is perfect so that someone can easily match the color. Then you have the slices. So right now I want to change the color of some of the slices to fit our color theme. So I'm going to be changing that of digital, or rather that of cash, change to fit our color theme, which is this. Then also the no payment method color, I want to change that to be a bit darker. This color, you can always check the hex code of that, just 666 into 6 different places. Then the next thing I'm going to, I want to clean this up. You can see that we have both the value and the percentage. Think that this is a donut chart which shows part of a whole. So it's best for us to present this as a percentage. You don't necessarily need the value to just present it as a percentage. That is down to just percent of total, which is neater and easier for someone to understand. So we have answered that question of what payment method that customers prefer. Then the next question is going to be, who are our top performing staff members, to help him in conversation and all. So to do that, we are going to be using a column chart, which is similar to a bar chart that we created, just that the orientation differs. So I'm going to click on the staff column chart. Then I'm going to have my staff in the x-axis. Y-axis, we're going to have the sales amount, same size and style part of things. I'm going to have my visual border turned on, change the color of that to this for consistency. Then rounded corner 5 pixels, scroll down, my x-axis. You can always change, edit your title, but I'm not touching the title because most of the title is just okay. But you can edit your title here to what you want as well as change the font and all. Then x-axis, turn off the title of the x-axis, but because the title of the chart already has staff, so it seems redundant. Then for the y-axis, turn off the title as well. Then the color of my columns, I want it to be the same color thing with what we have been using. So right now you can see that the staff Emeka is our top performing staff, while Fatima actually, and when you hover on this, this is similar to Ngozi. Fatima and Ngozi are almost in the same category. They are our least performing staff. So this will help the shop owner to be able to make this particular decision regarding them. And the next thing I'm going to be adding to this particular report are the slicers. So for in Power BI, one of the features that makes it interactive is the ability to add slicers that can help the end user to be able to explore more and answer more questions, even though that you, as the creator of the report, is no longer there. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on this particular build aspect of things. We have different slicers, but I'm just going to use the simple one. and I want to add a slicer for my month, because which is the time period that we have in this report. And I also want to add a slicer for my product, which is the product in question, so that the shop owner can easily select any product of choice and be able to understand um, the metrics around that particular product. So I'm going to place this here. For the slicers, I want the height of this to be 62 and the width to be 55. And let me just 155. My month name to this just by clicking the month. I need it for it. So change this from vertical list to drop down. Adjust it to be on top of this part. Then I also want to have a slicer for my month name. Since I already have one slicer, I can just duplicate, Control C, Control V. I just place that one here, change this from month name to product. So now when my manager, the shop owner in this case, wants to check about the charger, for instance, when he clicks on charger, the whole dashboard changes to show charger. You can see that in May, there was a dip in sales. In November, there was an increase in sales. Now you can actually run promotion around April, May, and June so that you have more sales within this period and all. Another thing that you will notice when I select for my month name, if I select March, for instance, this particular chart is filtered, and I don't want this to be filtered. I want this to always show me the month trend, and I don't want this slicer to affect this. You can edit that using the edit interaction feature. So to do that, I'll click on month name, go over to format, edit interaction, turn it off, none. So now it's not going to be affecting this. Turn it off over here. Now, okay. So the next thing I'm going to basically do in order to clean up more of this visual is to remove the grid lines that I'm seeing within. So to do that, I'll just click on this first visual, go over to format pane, search for, you can search for any feature that you want. There are lots of features here. Sometimes you might actually be lost looking for some. So you can easily search for whichever feature that you have in mind. In my case, it's grid lines. You can see that here, horizontal grid line, turn it off. Over here as well, turn it off. And I think I have one here too. Okay, I don't have. Okay. So this is our dashboard that answers our shop owners' business questions. So time for questions. Hello. Hope you guys can still hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. We are with you.
Okay.
So yes, so we have people raising out their hands already, starting from Oluchi.
Okay.
So you can go back to the presentation. I mean
To the visual.
to the visual.
The Power BI visual or
Yes, yes,
my
the
phone.
Power
Okay.
BI visual.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We're here.
Okay. So Oluchi, go ahead.
I think it's Aunt Chiamaka for the visual so far. My question is, how did you get the edit interactions? Your cursor was
Okay.
so fast, I was not able to
Yeah.
capture it.
Oh, sorry about that. So click on the month name, format, edit interaction. So click on the slicer, in this case, any slicer, even for the products. When I click on the product edit interaction, it tells you the visual that this particular slicer is going to affect. In this case, it's going to affect everything. But when you look at that of the month name, you find out that it's not going to affect this particular slicer or it's going to affect others. Then in order to close it, you click on it back to close.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other question?
Any other question from anybody? Don't be shy to ask questions though. Okay, nobody's asking questions now. Okay. Madam Chi, me, I want to ask question.
Okay.
So from the report, ma,
Okay.
let's go back to the Power BI. So
All
from the
right.
Power BI
Um,
report, I noticed that we did not use data label for the sales amount of staff. Is it because earlier we could not know that Amaka and I think Amaka and Ngozi, there was no
Chiamaka and Emeka,
yes
yeah, they
earlier.
were
So
exactly.
is it or when we are using column chart like this, is it better that we don't use with what is it called? We don't use with data label. Should we stick to this or we should use data label? That's
In
my
this
question.
particular, yeah, in this particular case question, it's actually advisable for you, just like when you finish. One thing I usually tell people, when you're done, there's no hard and fast rule actually. But when you're done building your reports and you look at it and check scenarios and all of that, just like in this particular case, it's advisable for you to actually turn on the data label because especially if your end user is not someone that is familiar with Power BI. If someone that is familiar with Power BI, the person will know that once you hover on it, you can actually know what each point signifies. But if it's not someone that is familiar with Power BI, you should just turn on the data labels there so that the person can easily see that Ngozi's own is more than that of Fatima. Does
Okay.
that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. So how do we turn it on?
Okay, just like we did for the bar chart for sales by product, for the y-axis of this. So it means that I'm going to turn off the values of the y-axis, then scroll down to the data label aspect of things, turn it on. That's all. Then in this case, because it's 1.8, 1.8, you will also need to increase the show option under the value aspect of things, I think. Yeah, display unit. Display unit in this case is going to be none so that they can see everything to know by how many, what's the difference between Ngozi and Fatima. Because when someone looks at this, the person will like, oh, they are the same thing now. But the
Ma,
person will not know
instead of
that.
why can't we can we increase the decimal place so that it's not too long? Instead
Yeah,
of
you
using
can increase
decimal
the decimal place also within
while
here.
in million, yes.
That's, yeah, exactly. So you can increase the decimal place within here as well. I can increase this to 2
Hmm.
or exactly, which can also help you. So it's just for you to work with this. Like I said earlier, there is no hard and fast rule. So based on what your data is giving you, you can play around with the display unit and the decimal places within here to be able to ensure that your end user gets the best out of things.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, ma'am. So I don't know if any other person. Okay, so Oluchi, yes, your question.
Okay, and Chiamaka, like this sales amounts by payment category,
Mm.
like I'm finding it difficult to get the colors from. Like, can we use another visual for it? Because like the cash and card, like my eyes, my sight, like I'm not seeing the very well. Like, is there any other visual we can use to visualize it so I can be able to read what's let me get at what I'm saying, sir.
Sorry, the card and cash.
Yes, their colors. Like I'm not reading the visuals very well. from my
It's
end though.
also the
So
same colors, even. It's actually the digital and cash that still blue, but actually make that distinct. Is it just me? Can any other person comment on this?
Yeah,
The card and cash.
the colors.
Let me expand this. You can put this in focus mode as
Exactly. That
well.
was what I was about to say. That you
So
click on the
yeah, you
focus
can put
mode.
this in focus mode. So Olive, is that better for you to view?
yeah, it's better now. But can like must it be pie chart for it? Like can we use another visual? That's what
Okay.
my question was
Um,
also going to.
you can actually use a bar chart for this. You get. You can actually use a bar chart to show this. But the reason I actually want to use the pie chart in this particular case is to kind of have variety, and the pie chart also shows the percentage even you get. But you can use a bar chart as well for this. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, promise.
But when you're not using the bar chart, it's going to show you more of the absolute value and not the percentage itself. So that's why I actually use the donut chart.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay,
Okay.
so promise. Your hand is raised. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Chiamaka. I just wanted to know how do
Okay.
I
It
pick the right
actually it depends on what you are trying to show. If you listened when I was trying to answer the business question, each visual has a best use case. Um, just like when I was trying to mention the peak and the drop, obviously you are going to be using the line chart or the area chart. So there are all these visuals that you can see here within Power BI, they all have their best use case for them, depending on the requirements, on the project requirements. When you want to show single metric, you are going for a card. I cannot be showing single metric on a bar chart that is something a card visual portrays faster. So to use the visual that when your end user is using it, especially when you are designing for an executive, you try to use a visual that once the executive looks at it, because most of them don't have time. So you try to use a visual that once they look at it, they can actually see this is what is going on, and try to use visuals that are as simple as possible to read. They're not really that complicated. So in this case, the for showing single metric, card visuals are perfect for that. For showing trends, you use either a line chart or an area chart. For showing comparison by categories, which in this case, different products, you're trying to compare, excuse me, you're trying to compare different categories. You use a bar chart. Another time, you can use a bar chart or a column chart. But the reason I use the bar chart here is because that you can easily read this using a bar chart. Imagine I'm using a column chart for this. You will need to bend your neck to know that this is laptop bag. But as human beings, by default, we read from left to right. So a bar chart is use that because of the how long the categories are. You will need to be turning your neck and twisting your neck in order to be able to read that. So that is why I use the bar chart for this. But over here that we have just simple names that someone can easily read. The names are not oriented. That is why I used a column chart in this case. Does that answer your question?
Thank you so much.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
All right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Okay.
Aluchi, you've raised your hand once more. Aluchi, go
Hello,
ahead.
Oluchi.
Okay. The area charts, you know, on the data level for the area charts, right?
You can hover on it. The reason I not on the data label for this, that will be, I will discuss that in the next session, which has to do with design. In design, you don't need to really clutter
Is it not?
everywhere.
But
So
I can,
imagine when,
okay,
can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah. If I turn this on, you can see a whole lot of things going on. It is
Yeah, my
cluttered.
network. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you and we can hear her.
Hello?
Chiamaka.
Okay. So
Oh,
you can see that now it is cluttered, and it's very difficult for someone to actually know what is going on. But when you turn it off, and if your business owner in this case wants to know, oh, there was a dip here, what was the exact value? That's one advantage of Power BI. When he hovers, he can actually see what that particular point is about. And in order to make this more pronounced, you can turn on the data marker as well. We have markers as well. So this is the marker aspect of things you can turn on for all categories. You can see. So it will also help them to know the point that they can hover on. When I hover on any particular point, it tells me what that point is. I don't need to turn on all the data label because it will add to the noise here. Does that make sense?
yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes, thank
Any other question?
any other question before we go into design next class? Any other question? Don't be shy, you.
Next class design. There'll be a lot of questions to be asked.
Ah, okay. One other question, Madam Chiamaka.
Yeah.
So in our first, we used the new card tool, right? That was the card tool we used for the total orders, total
Yeah.
quantity. We noticed
Yeah,
that
exactly.
we had 13 million, and then we also have
Mhm.
4.74k um, average price. Should we use
Mhm.
that, or can we also add decimal place to our total amount
Million. Yeah.
instead
You
of it just
should
being
for consistency
for
actually.
consistency?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
exactly. Yeah, you should for consistency.
Okay.
So these are things that even after building your reports, you should notice them actually.
Okay. Good. So thank you very, very much, ma'am. I think in absence of no other question, we're going to be ending the class now. So what we need from everyone is before next class, as much as possible, you should have replicated this same dashboard. I am also doing the same thing on at my end here. So I believe that everybody, if you can't follow up with the class, the record will be dropped soon. So please try to have it as well before we go into the designing of this beautiful, already beautiful dashboard. Sef. so so for those of us who are joining online, please don't forget to put your question in the comment section. We're going to be answering them. If you are not on the WhatsApp group, you can drop you can just request for it. So we're going to be sending the WhatsApp channel link and WhatsApp group link as well to you. Don't also forget to like this video, subscribe, and follow for more. I'm also going to be sharing and tagging Chamaka's YouTube page with the video because we collaborated to have this done. Please also try to follow Chiamaka. In fact, you're going to learn quite a lot of things. I've said it before and I'm saying it again. She's one of the people that you need to actually hold very well. Like you need to hold us, yeah. Auntie Chiamaka, that place you are going, I'm following you, we are running together. So yes, because don't let me start telling you about her around the public. So Thank you very much, Chamaka. We are so glad to have you with us today. Thank you very much, everybody on the call. I'm sure you enjoyed yourself today as well. And for those of you that are watching the video record later, I'm sure you'll be surprised, like, wow, I should have been in the class. But yes, so thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, everyone. Remember, please do the same thing, replicate everything for next class so that you're also going to be having to when we are doing the design for next class, it won't be so cumbersome for you. You can follow ahead with everything. So thank you very much, everyone, and do have a wonderful night rest. Bye bye, everybody.
Thank you very much, Madam Chiamaka, and to
Thank
Mr.
you so much,
Banks. Thank you too.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Thank